This is Ari Koretsky, and welcome to Jews You Should Know, introducing the broader community to interesting and inspiring Jewish men and women making a difference in our world. Some are already famous, some not yet so, but each is a Jew you should know.
And we are back with another fabulous episode of Jews You Should Know, wrapping up our mini-series on mindfulness, meditation, positive psychology, and the like, and perhaps with the guru of it all, at least the most widely consumed due to his social media profile, and that is Meir Kalmanson, aka Meir K, who is a viral YouTube sensation. His videos have been viewed tens, if not hundreds of millions of times, and he is a young man who spreads incredible joy and light wherever he goes. Some of his famous videos include the high five in New York, as well as the Super Bowl parties for those experiencing homelessness, among many, many other feats of kindness that he has documented and deployed to inspire others around the world. Coming up the next couple of weeks, we'll have some Passover-related conversations. Just fell out beautifully that way. We'll have a discussion with Gidon Weitzman of the Pua Institute, someone actually that I interviewed in Israel on the live podcast tour, and this will actually be the last interview from that 25 interview series. So finally coming to the end of that summer trip as we nearly approach the next summer. And Pua is a fabulous organization helping couples and women struggling with infertility. And of course, Pua is also the name of one of the midwives in the Exodus story. So a lovely Passover tie-in there. We'll also be releasing an interview with Mo Mernick, who is a really incredible guy. He is a person who struggled with a stutter for many, many years, overcame that to a large degree, and has been incredibly successful as an entrepreneur, as well as a mentor and motivational speaker, a man who wears many, many different hats, and from whom I have really learned a lot. So really pumped about that interview as well, and we'll be dropping that over the next couple of weeks. But meanwhile, let's head right to our really uplifting conversation with Jewish social media personality, YouTube sensation, Meir K. We are here with Meir Kalmanson, aka Meir K, a social media personality, among other things, someone who has spread a lot of joy and a lot of inspiration to a lot of people. How are you, Meir?
Thank God, Baruch Hashem, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks for joining. And off the bat, I got to tell you, my son is named Meir K, or Meir Koretsky, so I already feel this like natural kinship.
Ah, beautiful. Great name. I'm sure he has lots of energy bouncing off the walls.
He is high energy, not quite what I suspect you are, but maybe you can mentor him a little bit.
Awesome, man. I always have a nice, great connection with those who are Meir. It's a beautiful name, to illuminate. So I'm sure you got nachas from him and continue nachas.
I work for Meir as my full-time job, which is also the same route, lighting up the world. So I'm
a rabbi. All right.
That's it, baby. You got it.
Hashtag lamplighter.
Don't tell anybody. So Meir K, tell us a little bit about where you are from. Give us the early Meir K story.
Got it. So I was born in New York in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. My parents moved down when I was 3.5 to New Haven, Connecticut. I'm the oldest of four, so I have 3 siblings. And it was a great, thank God, I grew up in a really great home, an open home, a kind home. We always, always have fond memories of having guests over for Shabbos, for the holidays. Parents really went above and beyond to just make people feel comfortable. And it was a really great, my background was ultra-Orthodox, Chabad, which was interesting because I grew up in New Haven, which had a really small Chabad community. So my parents sent me off to a day school, which was run by Chabad, but it was like English, half a day Hebrew studies, half a day secular studies, girls in my class, science, learning. So it was interesting conversations when I would go to, say, a Gan Yisrael in the summertime, where all the boys came from like these old boys schools, only Hebrew. So I would sort of at times feel special, but also feel a bit out of the mix. They don't necessarily always felt like I fit in. And it was awesome. It was different. It was, I mean, they did put me in the out-of-towner group of boys, so that was always a fun, I thought we were always a bit more colorful than the rest.
Out of town probably means, not out of Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I love it. They put someone from.
It's funny how Brooklyn is like this one little city, and the rest of the world is out of town.
It's like my son told me that like some towns in New Jersey are considered out of town. So
right, exactly.
It's all a matter of perspective. What brought your parents to New Haven? Why did your family leave that bastion of Chabad living in Crown Heights?
My dad got a job. My dad, he had a gig out there, so he moved out. My mom got a job in the school that I went to as a teacher, which she did for like 20 or so years, and awesome, creative, great energy. So that's the reason why my parents moved out, and the rest is history, as they say. Yeah,
that's interesting. I knew New Haven does have a Chabad high school, right?
So they have, so actually today, fast forward a bunch of years, now it's thriving. It's thriving. There's a big influx in families moving in. There's now a cheder. There's high school. There's a crazy amount of, as a kid, there used to be a truck that used to come in once a week from New York to bring kosher food. Today, now, that doesn't exist. Tons, there's so much food out there in New Haven. And every year, just more and more people coming. I go back home to visit my family. My parents live out there. And I go out into Shul, and I don't know any. Most people don't even know anymore. So it's really cool to see how much it's grown since I grew up. Interesting.
Any connection to the Yale campus with your family over there?
Not directly, no. We know like the Rabbi Shulchan out there. We know Mr. Hecht, who runs the Chai Society out there as well. But nothing direct, no. It was cool to say, though, New Haven, Yale. I had no idea what Yale meant to until I started growing up. Since I started going on shulchas to like campuses and telling them where I'm like, oh, you're from Yale. I'm like, what? What's so big about it? Downtown. It's where Barnes & Noble's library is. And it's like, oh, I started to realize.
There you go. You're the Barnes & Noble guy, right?
Yeah. Nice. Great architecture, though. Really great.
Stone building, yeah. It is beautiful there. I was told once, though, before that, when they repair the buildings at Yale, the old buildings, they deliberately repair them, like still looking kind of broken and old, to preserve that facade of ancientness, so to speak.
Oh, interesting.
Which is a powerful lesson.
That's cool. I like that. That's really interesting. Yeah, I did actually go. I was learning with Rabbi Katz, a genius of a man in the community, and he had access to the Yale library. So underneath these buildings, they have any safer, Jewish, non-Jewish, any religion, anything that comes out, Yale just buys. They buy, and they accumulate this incredible mass of books and library. So I actually had access for a couple of years to go down to those libraries, and they have books dating hundreds of years old. And it was really just to be in that space underground, and to just walk down these aisles of just old ancient literature was really fascinating, magical.
Very cool. Very cool. So you were in these out of town schools, not New Haven schools. You went away to school. Did you know early on, because obviously there's a culture in Chabad, for those who are not familiar among the listeners, of kind of the ideal being someone who can go out to the world, and whether onto a campus or a community or Azerbaijan or wherever it might be, to spread Judaism and to be a bastion of Jewish life there, wherever that outpost might be. Was that something that you had your heart set on? It sounds like your family wasn't specifically doing that like professionally. So What was your thinking on that?
Yeah, to give us some context, you're right. It's growing up, the yeshiva system is sort of caters to. It's meant to bring a person up into the idea of becoming a shliach, to being this, as I say, lamplighter. The Rabbi brings down that terminology. So my mom actually is the quote unquote the only unofficial shlucha, only one out of her family who isn't on shluchas full time.
Just out of curiosity, where are some of your relatives?
Oh wow! My aunts and uncles are in Panama. They're in Florida. They're in Italy, France. I got cousins who I went to visit in China, in Japan.
Incredible.
And then throughout the states.
You've got like a built-in like worldwide Airbnb.
Exactly. It's really amazing. At such a young age, being in the system. There's so many natural talents and maybe skill sets that I have now, which I really give over to credit to the system, because from a very young age, we're going out, running programs in various countries, having conversations on campuses with people, much older than myself. And it really pushes you into this real world conversation to really think for yourself, fend for yourself. stand your ground, and of course explore the world and meet so many different types of Jews outside, the little community of Brooklyn. So I've grown tremendously through being part of the system and the community, which is I'm really grateful for. So my parents, they just chose the path that they wanted. But growing up, I've always was taught how one doesn't necessarily need the title of shliach or being in the system to do what shluchim do, which is to live a life of meaningfulness, of spreading light, positivity, showing up as you are as a Jew, representing, holding that responsibility and title, and spread the message. So. And I think in this day and age, you may go into this in the conversation, with the context of having, with having social media, having this outreach, we're reaching people that, more than any rabbi in the ancient years have ever had. When we think of the rabbis that had a few hundred people in a village they talk to, like now you're able to reach tens of thousands of people, millions of people. And it's a great power. And with that comes a great responsibility, and fortunate to be in that space.
Amazing. So you did or did not want to go out in that context? Did you know, was your early aspiration to go out to follow your family, or?
Growing up, growing up, there was a period in my time where I saw myself, being a shliach on in a state or a country, being in yeshiva. Someone that talks is like, oh, you're going to be a shliach of a city, the state. And the Chaim is like, you'll be a shliach of a country. Oh, not just a country. You'll go. Like that was the kind of dialogue, which is, I guess, interesting. But that came in that traditional sense. I left as I just grew up and traveled and just learned. I realized that just for me personally, I couldn't make that work, and it was perhaps a lifestyle, but I felt like a different calling, and I just followed that. And I felt like, just my personality and the way I am, I like to travel, I like to be in places, I like to connect with the masses.
And if you don't mind my asking, I'm curious, what about that life? Because so often we hear about people that are making the sacrifice to do these things, and it's an incredible network around the world. It's undeniably just awesome. And yet somebody who has the skills and the talents and the abilities and is, forgive the expression, but indoctrinated, so to speak, with that mentality from an early age, what would cause them not to want to ultimately follow through with it? In other words, if you have the skills, you have the abilities, and you certainly have the pedigree, why would a person choose not to do that? What about a person's individual preference might enter the equation to say, you know what, I want to do something a little bit different?
Yes, it's an individual. Everybody there's so many talented people who I have friends who are in business and who are shluchim and doing incredible things, and there are people who are doing incredible things in business, and they could have been shluchim, but it comes down to the individual and then what their preference is. What I can't speak for anybody else but myself. I'm sure that everybody has their own ideas of what they want to do. Perhaps they want to be on the side of giving, in the sense of like they want to make money, they want to have, those are their certain goals that they have, and support tens of thousands or of shluchim or their siblings. Everybody has their drive, so to speak. So that I can't say. For myself, I did use quite a bit of my talents growing up. I always loved performing and acting and creating videos. And I've used those skills in the context of shluchas. We were the first people in Asia to build the interactive Exodus, which was, we took a gym, made 6-7 rooms, and we dressed people up in the community in like all sackcloth, and we brought them through I was Moses, we had Pharaoh, we had the plagues. It was an incredible experience, and we had the shower factories and the Hanukkah presses and all that kind of stuff, and it was awesome. And until today, I think I have very close connections in the Jewish community in Singapore, and they say we were the best here. No, but it was awesome. And that being said, there was this inner voice or drive to not just for me to express on a much larger platform, to really pursue this type of communication of message. Same message, perhaps my own different style, but same message, but done differently. Maybe not from a pulpit, and then perhaps not in a day school, which I now do go and speak to and get invited to speak at, but in the medium through which I love, which is just so ingrained within me, which is just part of me, which is video, which is performance, which really fuels me.
When you were making those choices, two things. First of all, was it clear to you that you were choosing social media, so to speak, over the live shlichus, the live emissary work? Was that even an option at that time when you were making that choice, or did it not exist yet?
It's not over. It's all in the it's I think everybody, What I think was healthy is for everybody before going on and off shulchas or doing anything in their life, they have to really listen to themselves and see what really speaks to them, and truly choose for what they want. So yeah, we're brought up in a certain system, and the system again is to help to be a shach, but also just be a good yid, to be a good Jew. And people always wonder, how can you go through this system of like no English and no higher education on a secular way and get through life? And the fact is, the teaching, as we know, it's not just about learning A, B, and C, but it's about a way of life. It's about learning how to live, how to think, how to be an incredible, giving, caring, kind human being. And those are the real skills that one needs to be successful in life. So once we have all this information and we're brought up in the way that we are, I think it's, as a healthy young adult, is to figure out, what do I want to, what are my talents? What is my calling? What is my why? And then how do I go about doing that why? So,
did social media exist when you were?
No. So, the social media, as we know today, didn't exist back when I was, early 20s. So it was just, during that time, I took the time to figure out what it is that I want to do. Not everybody's meant to be a shech. Not everybody's meant to be in business. And that's the beautiful thing, right? Everybody finds their space, and everybody's able to help each other. So I think that's the beautiful thing, the diversity of how we connect with God, how we spread the messages. So during that time, I took the time to figure out how do I want to live how do I want to be? And so I went traveling, I went backpacking, and that in itself is not traditional. And my whole yeshiva life is not traditional. I'm not, I am the product of who I am and the choices I've made and the mindset that I've been in. And thank God, I'm Baruch Hashem, blessed to be the person that I am. So I took that time to decide to figure out. I came back and realized, okay, going down and then finding is a noble cause, to find a space, a time, a shul, a community, and grow that. Awesome. And it's not for me at this point in my life. I'm not writing it off. It could happen now. It could be 40, 50. Who knows? People's lives begin at 50 years old, right? So it's not off the bank, but right now in this space and time, I'm excited about video. I'm excited about spreading messages through my passion of video. And I'm passionate about spreading positivity, happiness, Torah messages, and I'm passionate about video performance. So let me bring that together. And this is where I find myself in this time in my life. So
what was your intention to do with that at that time when social media there wasn't like a natural place to broadcast it to the world yet?
At that time, I was using those platforms just to spread. I was just making some videos. I was traveling. I was away on shluchas, so I would make videos to, let's say, show at the campuses or at the high schools to recruit them. So I'd go around town, make a video, share it on, I'll post it on YouTube. Then I also share those videos with my friends and family back at home. I was spending some time in England and Israel. I was spending some time in Singapore when I was traveling around the world. So I would use those as just sharing platforms, not necessarily trying to build a community that didn't really exist back then, at least in the early stages. So just a way to just to share.
Awesome. Did you get a lot of pushback when you made the choice not to go into shluchos? Because I imagine your family would see this, this dynamic, charismatic, outgoing guy, maybe like the next heir apparent, to whatever location, outpost, and you had your choice of, to join probably a lot of family operations or to start your own. Did you get some pushback on that?
My parents, awesome. They're super supportive in what I've been doing. So none of that. My grandparents, any grandparent I think would want their child, their grandchild, or their family to be to follow suit in the same way as their parents and as their children and so on and so forth. So it's definitely a shock to the system. And I think most people in life, that's how it is. Most people will try to tell you or tell anybody what to do and how to do it. And I think, it works for some, and some, if they do that, they realize 10 years down the line how miserable they are. So I think it's very important to take in the words and listen to the advice of the people who care for you in your life, family, friends, mentors. And at the same time, couple that with, is that in line with what I want to do? Or is it perhaps a different way? I'm not saying be a rebel for rebels' causes, but I think it's important to think for oneself.
You got to certainly heed a certain inner voice and internal.
I think ultimately people want to, when someone decides something, then people fall into line most of the time. It's when in that indecision or when you don't know, that people will come at you, whether it's people or life will come at you and try to push you to a certain direction. The worry for you, you don't know, okay, follow this too. This worked for me. But if you come and you're like, this is what I'm doing, then momentum will come behind you. He knows what's up. and they'll support you in that. It's in the indecisions. It's when like you're trying this, trying that, floating here and there. That's when all the voices are coming. Oh, try this, try this, try this, try that. So I think I found in myself when I came in with certainty, and like this is what I'm doing, then the support came behind. And I found myself, let's pull in many different directions.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. So I'm curious what you did next. You started making videos, performing. Like, was there any sort of theme? Was there any sort of structure? Did you have a vision of where you wanted to go with everything? And as the world started becoming more and more connected, I guess, it was 10, 15 years ago, probably when social media was really, it's exploding, so to speak. What did you start to do with all that?
Yeah, I mean, initially, the messages were always around spreading positivity and happiness. It just felt in line with who I am, and people will say now in line with the brand. But it's just about being authentic, about being what talks to me at the time. So, I mean, at the time, in other circles, a lot of pranks were happening, and those were very engaged types of videos. And I was approached by different people to get involved with that. With potential success and quite quickly. And just, comes, and something which I tell young creators now is like, you have to really, figure out what it is that really speaks to you and be authentic. Because on a more external mode, people are going to see right away that you're inauthentic. But more internally, what's more important is that how you're going to feel inside after you create that video and the process of creating that video or whatever mission you're trying to pursue. And it's going to burn you out so quickly. It's so unhealthy. And, really, rather than having 1 million followers, to have 10,000 people or 5,000 people who follow you, what you believe in, you're excited to wake up to. That's really where the money's at, quote unquote, and more the success is at. It's really, really difficult to follow through on because we're constantly told that's not the truth.
There's an allure, there's a seduction to mass appeal.
Right, 100%. It comes down to many basic needs of validation and wanting to be seen, and so it's even within that, it's like figuring out, asking self, why do I want this? Why do I want to be seen? Why do I want to be famous? Why? Just ask that question. Why? Why? Question it. We are the people of the question. So we should ask that to ourselves, not just only to our teachers and mentors, It's like really look internally and like why, and then the discovery of self becomes very apparent, and you start seeing what is the driving force behind what I want to do, why, and then the number game really starts to blur away, because it's really about, if I'm really here to just affect and spread a certain message to, then wow. Or if it's just about maybe making a pronouncement, like every time you get money for, let's say, you're a musician, and it's like, wow, what a blessing. So maybe not selling out Madison Square Garden yet. Very important to say yet. But at the same time, it's like, wow, I just got $500 to play my guitar. Huge. Like, that's crazy. I was just playing that in my dorm, like whatever that may be. It's like, so that plays in gratefulness, like to understand, like like, thank you, God. Thank you, like, for this opportunity that I'm able to, like, pay my rent through this. So I think it just changes the mindset and perspective, and it's really living a different reality, a reality which is more true and real than one of fantasy and one that's stuck in one's mind. So earlier on, I realized that's the kind of messages that I wanted to be involved in the conversation. I want to be around the type of collaborators I want to work with, people in this kind of mindset. Happiness, comedy, serious. I started going to more serious topics, but it's all about stuff that I connect with, stuff that I feel that I'm learning from. I want to share with people. I want to build a community of like-minded individuals that want to spread goodness and happiness and positivity. Hashtag lamplighters, people to illuminate their own lives and lives of others. So that's in that kind of context, I would say, and then that's kind of videos that's where the messages of the videos will fall into, for the most part.
Amazing. So what were some of your early breakthrough video moments?
Well, without a doubt, it was High Five New York. It was me.
Tell us about that. I'm familiar, but I don't know that everyone else is, and it's a pretty awesome early moment for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. I came back from traveling, and I was just open to the world, and like coming back to New York City, like it was like, whoa! It was overwhelming of the senses, and as I came back, I just was walking down the street with a good friend of mine, Ellie, and I saw a man his hand was outstretched, and I said, Ellie, the world is leaving this man hanging. he's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, that guy needs a high five. And he's like, Meir, dude, that's not the way it works here in New York City. And so I was like, listen, I got to go and give this man a high five. He's like, Meir, don't do it. I ran over, high five the man, ran. My friend Ellie caught up. He's like, Meir, that was awesome. He started smiling. The guy, people who around saw what happened, started smiling. And I was like, this could be a cool video. Like, people started making videos at the time. I knew I wanted to make videos online. I opened up a YouTube account. And we went out the next day and we filmed the video. It took us 2 days to get the amount of high fives we wanted to get.
Got a lot of rejections?
Not even that, actually. It was more like I became like the high five fairy. Like every time I went over to give someone a high five, they would get a cab right away. Like I was just alley-ooping them these. So it just took me some time to finally just get someone to like, as I get close to them, they'll get their hand down because they're going to a cab. The most part, the response was quite positive. One or two just like deadpan looks like, bro, what are you doing? But nothing aggressive, thank God. And I believe, when you show up in a positive, just happy mindset, people, they don't feel, people get aggressive when they feel like they're being attacked or there's something aggressive coming. It's a defense mechanism. But I didn't show up in that type of light. At least that's what
Did anyone ask like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Or like,
people were like, what's going on? I'm like, yo, dude, I just want to go around, spread high five, spread positivity, man. And like at the time, I also had like long hair, total like, hippie hipster.
Yeah.
So like, you can't get upset at a guy with a beard and a long hair, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, bro, just one love.
Did anyone feel like you're invading my personal space or that kind of thing?
Like I said, no, maybe 2 or 3 people got back to me and in the sense of like, just like gave me like a look like, yo, bro, like, what are you doing? And then I'll explain to them. I'll come back, run back and say, I just want to like spread human connection and spread good vibes and, being present. Just told them what the message of the video was and they came around to it.
Did people know you were filming?
Most of the time, no.
It was happening like from a distance.
Yeah. It was a hidden camera, sure.
It kind of spoils the authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. You want to keep it. It's like, okay, you stand here. No, it wasn't like that at all. It was very organic.
So what was the impact of that early video? It sounds like that was like the first major hit, so to speak. What came of that? What was the reaction? Did you get people like just messaging you from all over the world?
Oh my gosh, it was wild. The next morning I woke up and I got like a bunch of emails in my inbox saying they wanted me to be on this radio show or this TV show, and I ended up doing a little like 2-3 day press tour around New York City, and I got a lot of write-ups, a lot of press. From like Dr. Oz, Good Morning America, BuzzFeed, Mashable, New York News, local news, national news. It was pretty wild. And so that got a lot of, that's pushed a lot of, just the message out there and brought in a lot of the following initially, and also gave me a lot of confidence to realize that this is something that, I'm good at and something that feels natural, and this is what the world seemed like that they wanted to see more of. Like I mentioned, a lot of content that was being created at the time, and even till today, but now a lot less. But it was a lot of just like laughing at people. I wanted to laugh with people. People were just spending a lot of just like, pranks and just like random type of content. And I wanted to bring a bit more meaning to what we were watching.
Interesting. What do you think about that video specifically, beyond that it was, just fun and sort of lighthearted? What do you think touched a nerve in people? I think what it was is that it was different from what most people saw. It was something that was relatable. Everybody's hailed a cab once or twice in their life. It was so in brand. It was just like, it was just something light, something fun, something like, oh my God. And also what I've heard from many people, and they reach back out to me, they're like, you know how many times I've thought about doing that to somebody? So like, it just felt connected. And once they also understood and got the idea of like, especially in a place like New York City where people feel so disconnected, so many people, it was just a way of like connecting people. And it's a message that people can get behind, because, you could be in a room full of people and feel so alone. And that's an emotion many people could relate to. And that was something that I wanted to bring to light and say, hey, you're not alone. That's the theory I was going to posit, was along those lines, that I feel like so many people are afraid to kind of break the social taboo of like, we're supposed to kind of be in these siloed little spaces and everyone kind of walled off from each other unless you know a person in a very specific way, or you've created a particular kind of relationship with them. And here you just kind of broke those rules. You just kind of said, I don't need to go through all those stages of, I can just come right in and be like, hey, I'm a human, you're a human, let's connect. And I think people finally had permission to experience that. And I think that was very liberating for people.
That's it. And I've worked on creating other videos around that concept of like, everybody slow down for a second. You know what I mean? Like you said, we have this context of what it means to be in this space, and we're just all human beings. I mean, there's something to be celebrated about our individualities and our religions and the way we dress and think, and awesome. And at the same time, let's celebrate our oneness as a race, and I think through that we could really, appreciate the individuality, respect, unity. These are things that we practice, I don't want to sound like a total hippie, but I really truly believe it. I've experienced it. It's not something I'm philosophizing in my room or in a temple somewhere. I've experienced this. I have created spaces where like people from the most random spaces in the world, different thought process, anyway, coming together, connecting on just the most, natural human form, dance, music, just love, high five, connecting, conversations, the kind of conversations that take place in these spaces you'll never have even with your best friend. With your best friend, you're not having these conversations because you're also playing in the context, and it's uncomfortable to really delve into say how you're doing, how you're feeling. Like, who wants to talk about that? But that's when real life really begins. I mean, and there's no right or wrong. I just think that I believe I'm living a very more conscious, awake life, connecting with people on such levels. It feels a lot more full and more real, and it really brings together the worlds to create spaces where peace, respect, and harmony could live in.
It's interesting. Did you take inspiration from or any modeling perhaps from the whole Humans of New York movement?
I only heard about Humans of New York a bit later on, and I've gotten inspiration through various people, from books that I read or from videos that I've seen. Earlier on, people started tagging me in a YouTube channel called Improv Everywhere, and they do a lot of cool stuff, awesome stuff. So that was really cool. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea. Like, and vice versa. They reached out and they've commented on some of the videos. So that's cool too. To see other people in the space doing the same things. Yeah. Yeah.
It's Humans in New York. I guess the same idea of like getting very personal with somebody who's a real stranger and extracting that humanity from an anonymous person on the street, instead of, again, creating those bridges for people.
Totally, 100%, exactly. Just showing the story behind just a person on the subway, or the person at the bodega. Everybody has a story. Everybody has people that they love and who they love, and really, truly, as we know, we're all really connected. So like, it just takes a healthy body, the arms, the legs, the head. Everybody has to be functioning to really have a healthy body. And so once you start cutting off a certain sect or certain people, we're cutting off literally a limb of our whole self.
Did you encounter any cynicism? People saying, "Oh, this guy's just out for publicity or whatever"?
Yeah, all the time. And it's and I've developed compassion. I've developed compassion for such responses in people. It's something that I work on. It's like when you're giving a public speech and in front of 1,000 people, and one person goes to the bathroom, you already dialogue in your head. Why is he leaving? You have another people watching. So you have everybody else listening, and you're focusing on one. So initially, that's something that I had to work through. And like, oh my God, the negative comment getting at me. And then I just realized, like, wait a second, why is a bully a kid? Like, why do people do that? And there's always a process to it. And usually comes from a place of pain, hurt, lack of self-confidence, whatever that makeup may look like. And so it's really compassion. And so if it's coming from a place of constructive criticism and something that someone wants to say and share, I'm always open to have that conversation. If it's coming from blatant hate and like just to say something, then like I just like let it roll off me. It's not a big deal, and really just keep on going. So yeah, there is cynicism out there, and it's unfortunate. I think they're robbing themselves. People who are robbing themselves of a lot of joy and a lot of less pain and suffering. And I think a lot of people tie their identity with their cynicism, which is pretty deep rooted. And then it's like sort of scary because you have to like take apart your own identity, and then who am I? And it's like it's a road of development, but like, and everybody's up for it. I think it's awesome if people are. and they'll really find a lot of joy and happiness on the other side of it.
It's a good thing that you did this video before Uber. Otherwise, you would have been toast.
Yeah.
You'd have to grab people's phones or whatever to high five their phone or something.
Right, exactly, right?
So,
oh, man.
What were some of the other videos that you started making? You have a Wikipedia entry. I know that lists a couple of like the big signature videos that some of them got hundreds of millions of views. Literally, that's as you know. I don't know how accurate Wikipedia is, but that's what it says. Tell us about some of the other ones. The high five was the one I was most familiar with, but I know there have been many others, and some even far more popular, in fact. So, what were some of the other really meaningful ones and popular ones that you've done?
Another one, we threw a dance party on the subway of New York City.
That's
so
awesome.
that was a lot of fun.
How'd you do that? How'd you organize that?
Oh, that was just, I just reached out to some friends, boombox, get the speaker, get the music, get the lights, I got a friend, to take two friends to take the video. Got a guy off Craigslist to be the bouncer. And just threw a party, invited some friends. So it helped to have a few people start dancing already, and then just boom, the influx of people just started coming on, and it was one of the best nights of my life.
And you just went onto a random subway car?
Yeah, just a random subway car.
Amazing. It's a great story. A friend of mine named Rabbi Shmuel Brody, now in Seattle. We were in yeshiva together years ago, and you may remember there was a big rally. Try to remember what it was for. It was a huge rally in D.C. Maybe something for the Israeli government or something like that. Hundreds of thousands of people. And he went down, and then on the subway car down from Baltimore, where we were studying, down to D.C., he just started singing Am Yisrael Chai, and just got up and just got everyone going. And again, these were all Jewish people, predominantly, but the incredible sense of togetherness in that moment. Again, people don't know each other at all. So it takes the audacity of one person to kind of start that, and everyone else is so appreciative for that leadership.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. I mean, I think that when we human beings or when we step out of our own comfort zones and we just open ourselves up to what will be out there, magic happens. Really, magical things happen internally with our friends and family, our communities. When we're doing X, Y, and Z for so long, it's gotten us thus far. And we want to just really change it up and have some sort of amount of growth. We have to leave that comfort zone to make that happen.
Amazing. So what are some of the other big highlights for you?
I created a nonprofit around one of my videos.
Wow.
So that's something that's new and fresh, and I'm starting to realize the responsibilities of that, fundraising for one. And that's the Super Bowl party for those who are experiencing homelessness. So for the past 3 years, I've been hosting a Super Bowl party for those who are experiencing homelessness. I'm bringing the community as well. We had it in multiple cities around the states. And at the party, we're connecting people with people. So it's about taking away the stigma, awareness, helping those who are experiencing homelessness to feel like humans again. I feel like a lot of the epidemic is around the idea that many people they don't view themselves as human beings, and we don't view them as human beings. And when we shut ourselves off to this massive population, we're really shutting off a big emotional part of ourselves. We can't just turn off an emotion of disheartedness and just coldness to somebody on the subway when someone's sitting on the street, and then have a full healthy relationship with other people. It just doesn't work that way as human beings. So I feel like we lose when others are losing. We're all on the same team, and so it's really taken off. Our goal for next year is to be in 20 states. The video I created a video around those parties, and those videos have gone super viral. And it really helped push the message. Unfortunately, at the time, I wasn't fundraising at the time with it. So it's a new step, and it's a new era. It's sort of separate from video, but it's something that really talks to me. It goes back to the idea of feeling, I have felt, alone in the past, and not feeling alone, and sharing the message that you're not alone, and to really bring back the human connection and human dignity to humanity.
How did you find people to invite?
Went on the street. Unfortunately, in New York City, there's I think you pick a corner, you'll find a few people. So when we go on the streets in New York City, we invite people off the street. And this past year, we also teamed up with an awesome organization called Knock Knock Give a Sock, and we also invited a few of the shelters in New York to come through as well.
And that way, what the shelters would tell them about opportunities where they could stay.
Yeah, so we bust them in from the shelters. We brought them
you bust the participants in from the shelters.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah.
Did
you just walk around the streets with like a flyer? Like,
walked around the streets with
a day of, like on the Super Bowl day, and like, come with me now.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a day of, an hour before. We ran the streets. We invited, hey, Uber jumped in, we took them over. We also had on the website vouchers, so if people couldn't come themselves, we also empowered people to download the voucher off from their home, go onto the street, and it had all the information, and then they were able to invite those who were experiencing homelessness to go to the party as well.
Incredible. How many people came in New York City?
Like 100.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you got a venue to just host the whole thing? And
yeah, we got a venue. We sponsorships for food, for drinks, and musicians came, motivational speakers, donations for clothing, a barber. It was a really great experience, and our goal is to do
halftime haircuts.
Yeah, well, throughout the whole time there was like this stuff, haircuts going on, shaves. There was different sections. You're not raised into the football game, so they got the game going on, but you also have like musician playing, and there's like concerts going on. There's the makeovers in the back, people taking clothing, trying those on, just conversations, really great organic conversations.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did anything that you know of come from that you've heard of, or it's relationships or people getting connections?
Yeah,
that they didn't have?
Massively, 100%. The way massive boost in confidence and connectivity. People have changed numbers at the party. From a volunteer perspective, a lot of people, kids who were sheltered or never really engaged, opened their mind to volunteering, to the homeless community, to just looking at them as people. And they've mentioned how they, throughout the year, have been a lot more aware and helpful. And the goal is not to just keep it as, I would say not to play it down, because the night is incredible. But it is to move into a space where we're teaching not just to give fish, but teach how to fish. So not just give food or shelter, but to really build up the person again, so they're able to hold down a job. So they're able to, once again, be part of the community as a whole on a daily basis. We've landed jobs for homeless shelters in the past, for homeless people in the past. But the argument is, they never hold it down. Well, of course not, because when we feed into the narrative of their own narrative that they're less than, then how could you have the responsibility and the confidence to hold down a job? So it's really about going back to the basics. And that would be the goal. That is the goal of this nonprofit.
How do you deal with issues of mental illness and things of that nature?
That is something that we would have to tackle down the road. But that's not going to stop us to help those who aren't battling mental illness. So, yeah.
Amazing. There was another, I think, video where you dealt with, you had kids choosing between helping people or eating ice cream. What was that about?
Yeah. Oh, that was about, something beautiful about children is that they have this beautiful, clear vision of the world, and they show up as they are. There's no masks with children. There isn't any like the illusion of themselves when it comes to people showing up in the world. And so I do love creating videos with children, showing that dynamic, the difference between like the adult, which we are all children at one point, right? We lose this, like it's something throughout the years of childhood to adulthood, like things get crazy, but we're all just a bunch of children. And that's also through, subtle messaging of my videos, is that I just try to tap into that again. Like we're just like tap into that inner child, show us some love, show us some care. So in that particular video, it was about just showing like, would they take, this money, or would they go and use it, or would they help it through a kind act of like giving it to a homeless person, and putting them in that situation. So there was the ice cream on one side, the homeless person on the other side, and then playing out the scenario.
Amazing. Yeah. And it says, again, according to Wikipedia, the great fountain of wisdom, it says that the most watched video, 266 million views. That's at least according to their citation in from
I think it's more now.
Valuable lesson for a happier life.
I think it's more now.
We're up to 267, maybe more.
Yeah.
But and once I watch it. But
nice, awesome. Yeah, that's the most popular video in my.
What was that?
That was a famous story that a parable that I read, and I just loved it, and I wanted to bring that to life.
So share the parable, if you will, with everyone.
Okay, so the short of it is there's a professor that comes to his class and brings along with him a empty jar, puts it on the table, and he says that this jar represents your life, students, and he starts to put in golf balls, and he says the golf balls represent the priorities, the most important things in your life, your health, your family, God. And then he puts in, he says, is a jar full? And the kids say, yeah, it's a full jar. And then he puts in small little pebbles. And I jumped ahead. And then he asks the students, hey, is this jar full? And they say, yes, now it's definitely full. And then he puts in some sand, and they say, and he asks, is the jar full now? And the kids say, yes, it's full now. You can't put anything else in that jar. No way. And then he pops over 2 Coronas, pours in the Coronas, and they settle in. He says, is the jar full now? And they say yes. And so he says the lesson is that, like I mentioned, the golf balls represent the most important things in your life. God, your friend, your family, your health. The sand represents the small things in your life, perhaps, the car and the house and the more monetary, materialistic things. And then he said the sand represents the really, really small things in your life, the tiny things, whatever that may look like in your life. And so he said, now in life, you could put it into golf balls, right, in the jar of your life. You could put in the golf balls first. And when you put in the priorities first, the golf balls, then there's a room for the other smaller things in your life. However, if you put in the opposite, if you put in the sand first, the pebbles first, then there won't be any space in this jar of life for the big priorities, those golf balls, the family, your health. So it was really about a lesson of priorities, putting first things first. And then when you do that, there'll be space for everything else. And then one of the kids asked, but hey, Professor, what about the 2 Coronas?
I was going to ask you that myself.
And then the professor says, it's to show that no matter how much your life is filled, there's always room for a beer with a good friend.
Nice. So what do you think about that particular message? It says it was translated to many languages. And again, 266 plus million views. Why that particular one?
I believe that's, it's a reflection of where many of us find themselves. You can ask that question yourself. Do you find yourself challenged with putting certain priorities first, or work-and-life balance? Yeah, 100%. It's part of the human condition. So no matter where you're from in the world, that is something that we all struggle with. We all work towards having that putting the right priorities first, putting first, second, and so on and so forth. So it was a message that landed very well. I think it was very clear. It was nice and short. It was simple. It was straight to the point. It had a nice little twist at the end. So with all those things in together, it was just something that landed with people. And, the rest is history. It got shared. And people really felt moved, touched, and inspired by that message.
Incredible. Just starting to wrap up, Meir, what would you say is the most surprising reactions you've gotten to any of your work?
The most surprising in what way? I'm surprised by just the community, how many languages, for example, these videos have been translated in, and where I get my responses from. I've gotten voice notes from people in Libya,
wow,
from people in Australia, from all over the world, and it just shows how small the world is. A, and B, how connected we can be just through these, through these videos, through these messages, that we all are going through this stuff. We all are, and so that's really amazing. It's pretty awesome to see how the communities have come around to my videos. In the beginning, I feel like there was a bit more hesitancy to it.
The Jewish community.
The Jewish community, yeah, sure. Now it's pretty well established. People seem to, even those who had some doubts earlier on have come around. So that's always cool. That's nice to see that progression. Yeah. What else surprises me? Yeah, I don't know. I just feel very grateful and privileged to be able to be in this space, to be doing what I love, to be in the side of giving. I love getting invited to host different events, MC different events, to get invited to speak at schools, elementary, high schools, colleges, to share the message. And that's something I always loved doing. So
is that how you're making your primary living now, or is the YouTubing itself, the biggest source of revenue for you?
I have various ways multiple various ways of income. It's through social media, through sponsored content. So people, companies or different organizations like the kind of things that I'm doing. So they sponsor video, tying with the message. I am picky when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I definitely believe that has to be in my own
on brand.
On brand, right? Has to be on brand. And yeah, getting invited to speak at different events, that also helps pay the bills. Yeah, that's where it's at right now.
Is it ever difficult for you being such a public persona and kind of almost like a representation or even a caricature of happiness and positivity? Does that ever make it difficult in your own life to not be positive, to, if you yourself are just feeling down or feeling sad and kind of almost not having permission to do that?
I did at one point in my life, and it was terrible, very unhealthy, right? Suppressing one's emotions is never good. To feel like that they're bad is not healthy either. So that in the beginning was something that it was a persona that I pushed very much. And we would have a very different type of conversation, I think 2 years ago, or even a year ago, when you asked me this question. So yeah, initially it was like, oh, I have to be this light and this place of like just full of positivity and happiness. And anybody asked me that question, I'll be like, yeah, it's all about looking at the life half full and like the glass half full and keeping a positive mindset, yada, yada. But that's bogus, because that is true. And at the same time, we're human beings. And I do get at times feel sadness and I've gone through depression. I've been through all that. And people can see more of that story on my mic drop. I did a mic drop speeches on my YouTube channel, on their YouTube channel, Meir K mic drop. But the short of it is that I don't think it's a stereotype. Anything takes away from one's own happiness and positivity. I think it makes it even more real and authentic when one is in touch with all their emotions. And it's okay to be sad and to be in that space. And because life is that bridge. What I push is to strive to keep that positive mindset, to open one's mind and possibilities to living as much of that fulfilled life as possible. And God willing, there'll be more videos coming around about the space and stuff that we're talking about as well, about owning up to one's emotions, about being sad, depression, addiction, suicide. These are things that perhaps I wouldn't have talked about years ago, but these are very relative things that are very important conversations to break out of the stigma about, because when we don't talk about it, it really festers in aloneness and isolation, where many people find themselves in when they're in these emotions. So I think it's awesome that the communities our Jewish communities are being more open to it. I think we have a lot more way to go, and I think a lot of lives will be saved when we do so.
If anything, I think that the willingness to encounter those kinds of topics, and for you yourself to be willing to be more well-rounded, let's put it, from an emotional perspective, or at least more transparent about those other emotions, gives a lot more credence to the super happy, positive stuff, where otherwise people might kind of dismiss it as that's just kind of his, how he is. I'm not like that,
Right.
No, I can be like this. I also have my challenges and struggles, and still I can make a video like that.
100%. Yeah, it totally brings a lot more authenticity to it as well, and more relatable, right? Because it's just about being part of a human being. It's just part of it. So it's like this not unrealistic goal that no one could reach, because unattainable. It's just touching base on all the topics and saying that all this is valid, all this is true, and we can still push through and make it happen. Any
immediate impending projects, videos, things that are launching that people should look out for?
Woo-hoo! All right. I'm actually right now in the editing process of a few podcasts of myself, my own podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's it going to be called?
That's a great question. It's called
K-Cast?
The K-Cast. A great day with Meir K.
Love it.
And we're going to talk about people's, how they have a great day, their stories, their tribulations, their challenges, how they got through to it. But, some people who are well-known, some people who aren't, people who I just find fascinating, who inspire me. So we're launching off 10 of the episodes first. My first time, really, I've been on podcast, my own podcast, so I'm going to get back to that feedback of people who do listen to it when it comes out. Love to hear your feedback.
Awesome.
And then I'll push that a bit more. I'm right now in the midst of putting together a children's book. And a few other videos, a couple of music videos are in the bag, and a few new videos around the topics that we just mentioned. So, thank God. I was also in the midst of the beginning processes of a feature film.
Interesting. What would that be about?
Ooh, stay tuned.
Okay, will do. And where, Meir, can people find, I know you're all over online, but where is there like a centralized location where the most of your stuff lives, and how can people access you most readily?
Yeah, MeirK.com. You can check out my website, but really Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. All of that is under Meir K, MEIRKAY. Meir K. Have a great day.
Amazing. Meir K, spreader of inspiration, happiness, joy, and authenticity, viral online sensation, and real Jewish ambassador extraordinaire. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Rabbi. I really appreciate it. It was awesome.
This has been Ari Koretsky on Jews You Should Know. Please visit us at JewsYouShouldKnow.com and subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume podcasts. Find us on social media at Jews You Should Know. If you'd like to become a supporter of this podcast, we would greatly appreciate that, and you can do so by visiting patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Jews You Should Know. Finally, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review so that we can continue to grow and introduce many more people to Jews You Should Know.